My name is Hiromi Ogata. I grew up in the countryside with my parents, who had a vast piece of land. As their only child born late in their lives, I was a bit lonely without any siblings. But my parents loved and cherished me dearly.
Hi, Hiromi. Today's special is strawberry cream bread, right? I've been looking forward to it since last week.
Thank you so much for always supporting us. I'm glad you're excited about it. We just baked a fresh batch. Katsuya, could you bring the strawberry cream bread from the shelf?
Gotcha.
After I moved to the city and started working, I met my husband Katsuya. Then we got married, and I finally opened the bakery I had always dreamed of.
My husband eats bread every day, but he really loves this bakery's bread. We'll keep coming back.
Thank you, I'll do my best. It's a small bakery, but we've been fortunate to have many regular customers. Every day is busy, but we've enjoyed it. Work and married life are going well, but I'm worried about my parents living far away. They're getting old. Recently, when I called Mom, I heard my dad wasn't doing too well. Mom said he was fine, but I'm still worried. I wanted to visit my dad, but whenever I brought it up, Katsuya would look troubled.
You can't just visit your parents and come back the same day, can you? It's too far, right? And without you, we can't run the bakery. If we close the shop, what will our regular customers do? They might stop coming if they find the shop closed.
You're right. The bakery runs because I make the bread and Katsuya helps out. So without me, we'd have to close the shop. Maybe we should hire someone. If we do, we need to prepare quickly.
What? Hire someone?
Yes, otherwise I can't visit my father and check on him.
If we hire someone, won't my salary decrease?
Your salary? I was surprised by Katsuya's sudden concern about the salary.
I can't have my salary decrease. There are so many things that I want.
I can understand that, but my father is sick. We can't just ignore that. Even though I tried to persuade him, Katsuya looked reluctant and dissatisfied.
Hey, Hiromi, I want to get a new car soon.
What? A car? Why now?
I told you, I have a lot of things that I want. Also, I want to build a house near my parents.
Near your parents? Well, it's not too far from here, so it's possible to move there. But we don't have the money to replace the car or build a new house just yet.
Yeah. By the way, your parents have a huge piece of land. How much do you think it could sell for?
What? My parents' land?
Just wondering what you're going to do with it.
Why is he suddenly saying this? He's even smiling. Probably just wishful thinking, I guess, but it's making me uncomfortable. A few months later, as I was putting up a hiring notice in the shop. What? Dad! My father passed away. His condition worsened suddenly, and being elderly, he didn't recover and passed away. My God! I couldn't visit him even when he was critical. I somehow tried to visit him, but every then, Katsuya would say, I can't leave the shop when we haven't hired anyone yet. Who knows how long it will take to reopen? He was against the whole idea. Even when he heard about my father's death, Katsuya didn't show any sadness.
So your father passed away, huh? That's sad. Such a shame.
He said it was sad, but he was grinning. I couldn't believe it. Was Katsuya this kind of an inconsiderate being? Katsuya, my father just passed away. Why are you smiling?
What? I'm not smiling. I'm sad, really.
Really sad. I was shocked by Katsuya's unbelievable attitude towards my father's death. Katsuya might be happy about my father's death because he is after our inheritance. Right after I told him my father's health was declining, he started talking about wanting to replace the car and selling our land. Katsuya, I'm not going to give you any inheritance.
What? Why are you saying that all of a sudden?
I thought maybe I'm just paranoid and overly suspicious because I'm upset about my father's death. But I couldn't stop doubting Katsuya, who seemed happy about my father's death. He didn't let me visit my father either, maybe because he thought that seeing me might make my father's condition improve. Katsuya looking startled and desperate.
Why would you not let me inherit anything?
What?
Oh no, I wasn't thinking about the inheritance at all.
As soon as I looked surprised, Katsuya became flustered and started to stammer. He's definitely suspicious. But right now, I need to get back to my parents' house as soon as possible. While I was suspicious of Katsuya's words, I quickly rushed to my parents' house for the funeral. It's so sad that the first time I could come back home in a long time is for my father's funeral. After returning to my parents' house, I let out a deep sigh. I closed the bakery to come back for the funeral. When I explained to the regular customers that it was for my father's funeral, they were all very understanding and kind. Closing the shop wasn't a problem at all. I wish I had taken the time off to visit my father while he was still alive, even if it meant struggling to do so. I don't want to blame Katsuya, but every time I brought it up, he would look troubled and stop me, and I couldn't make the right decision. It's frustrating.
Oh, this matcha bowl looks valuable. It could fetch a good price. The painting on the wall looks expensive too.
While I was deeply regretting not being able to see my father, Katsuya, who had come to the funeral with me, was muttering as he looked around the house. What is Katsuya doing? I thought he was just looking around because he hadn't been here in a long time. But it feels like he's inspecting everything and it makes me uncomfortable. After the funeral, Katsuya urged me to go back home quickly to reopen the bakery. I'm really sorry that I have to leave so soon, Mom.
Your bakery is important. It's okay, Hiromi. I'll be okay. Don't worry.
My mother seems less energetic than before. Of course, Dad just passed away.
Come on, Hiromi. The customers are waiting.
Okay. I was worried about my mother's lack of energy. But I left the house reluctantly as Katsuya urged me. But shortly after returning home, I got a call from my doctor who was looking after my mother, saying that her condition has worsened. This time, no matter what Katsuya says, I'm going to stay with my mother. I made up my mind and told Katsuya, my mother's condition has worsened. I'm closing the bakery and going back to my parents' house. I'm staying there overnight because I want to be with her. To my surprise, Katsuya replied with a big smile.
You're staying overnight at your parents' house? That's fine.
What? Really? I was surprised that Katsuya agreed to me staying overnight. At the same time, I felt suspicious and angry. Why are you so okay with it this time? You were so reluctant when my father was ill.
Oh, well, at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen, right?
What do you mean what was going to happen?
But this time, I think it's almost time, so I thought it would be fine.
What are you trying to say, Katsuya? I don't understand.
Also, if you're going back to your parents' house, why don't you bring back some nice keepsakes?
Keepsakes? I gasped at Katsuya's sudden suggestion, still smiling. What do you mean keepsakes?
Well, your mother doesn't have much time left, right? So they would be keepsakes. Why don't you bring some back, although a bit early? Oh, how about that matcha bowl in the living room? It looked nice.
Huh? What are you talking about? He's saying my mom doesn't have much time left? What is he talking about? I couldn't believe Katsuya's heartless and greedy words, and I found myself snapping back at him. This is unbelievable. You didn't let me stay when my father was critically ill, and now you're telling me to stay and bring back keepsakes?
Well, I was surprised when I saw your parents' house the other day. I always thought your family was well off. But there were so many expensive-looking things.
Ignoring my anger, Katsuya was in high spirits.
If we sell everything, it would be a lot. What kind of new car should we get? We can choose anything.
After all, you were after inheritance.
It's not like I was after it or anything. But if there are so many valuable things, we should use them, right?
It's a lie that you weren't after it. When I first started dating Katsuya, he was curious about my parents' job. And he was fascinated by the idea that they were a landlord and wealthy. And his eyes light up whenever the topic of money came up. Even after we got married, he always relied on me. He helped me at the bakery, but I was the one who prepared the place and the equipment. Katsuya just went along for the ride. Ignoring my anger, Katsuya kept grinning.
Why don't we go on a round-the-world trip with the money? Living in luxury!
I told you before, but you're not going to inheriting any inheritance.
What? You're not going to let me inherit anything? We're married. If there's an inheritance, we can open a new shop.
A new shop? You just said we should go on a round-the-world trip.
I did, but wouldn't you like to go on a round-the-world trip, Hiromi?
That's not the point. You always said that the closing the shop would inconvenience our regular customers. But you're okay with going a round-the-world trip? That means you're fine with closing the shop for a long time.
No, that's not what I meant. It was just a wishful thought.
Stop making excuses. Your true intentions are clear. You didn't want me to close the shop not because of the customers, but because you were worried about not getting paid. And now that my father has passed away and my mother is in poor health, you think the inheritance might come soon. That's why you agreed to me closing the shop and going back home this time, isn't it?
Wait, Hiromi, I wasn't thinking about that. I never cared about your family's inheritance.
Besides, we don't really have much of an inheritance.
What? No inheritance?
When I firmly said that, Katsuya visibly panicked.
What do you mean? Your family has a lot of land, right? I even heard about it from your father.
Yes, we did own a lot of land, but we've sold all of it.
Sold it? Why?
We sold at a very low price to an NPO running a rehabilitation facility that my father's acquaintance started 6 months before he passed away.
6 months before he passed away? No way. I was planning on selling that land for a high price.
Katsuya turned pale and began trembling. So he really was planning to sell our lands. Ignoring Katsuya's shock and continued. Also, I'm divorcing you.
What? Divorce?
I had been suspecting your greed long before my father passed away.
Wait, you think I'm greedy?
So I have been discussing the possibility of divorce with my parents for quite some time. My parents, thinking about my future after divorce, sold a large piece of land which would have been so much for me to an acquaintance they had known for a long time. I had a hunch about your terrible personality, hoping I was wrong. If I was wrong, I thought we could use the money from the land sale together.
Well, then that's fine. Why won't you let me inherit anything?
Because of your behavior and words. When my father passed away, they made it clear.
You weren't sad at all about my father's death. You were just eagerly waiting for the inheritance. You're despicable. Realizing Katsuya's true nature, I decided to divorce him.
What about the bakery? The regulars will be in trouble.
You were so excited about going around the world trip, and now you're worried about the bakery? After divorce, I'm going back to my parents' house. I've decided to close the bakery anyway.
Huh? Closing the bakery and going back?
Yes, I'll stay by my mother's side and make bread in a rehabilitation facility next to our house. I'd feel sorry for the regular customers, but the bakery being closed during my father's funeral made me realize it wouldn't really be a problem. They'd understand if I explained it to them. Even if we are relocated far away, they might stop by to buy bread for me again someday. My mind was already made up. My father's acquaintance, who built the rehabilitation facility, said they would set up a bakery shop for me in the facility as a thank you for the land. So even if I divorce you, I'll be fine.
But...
I'll be fine, but you'll be in trouble because I'll make all the breads here. I managed everything, including the finances. You only helped a little, and I pretty much managed everything. I wouldn't have any problem divorcing Katsuya, but he relied on me for everything, including living expenses. And you thought you could live comfortably on family's inheritance in the future, right? That's why you didn't bother to learn any skills, and only helped at the bakery here and there.
I thought your family was wealthy. But now, if we divorce, what will I do?
Why don't you figure it out yourself? No one's gonna be there to carry you all the time.
Well, what? Figure it out myself?
I used to always listen to Katsuya. But now that I had grown tired of Katsuya when I clearly refused, Katsuya turned pale and stood there in shock. And so I divorced Katsuya.
Please, I can't run the bakery. Help me.
I heard from the mutual friends after the divorce that Katsuya had neither money nor a job. That he tried to continue running the bakery we had managed until then. I planned to sell everything during the divorce, but Katsuya cried and begged to leave the bakery for him. So I left everything except what was necessary. And during the divorce, I learned that Katsuya had spent all the money I gave him apart from living expenses on hobbies without thinking about the future. So he had to start working immediately. But he had never made bread or done anything on his own, so he panicked and asked friends for help. But
Katsuya, you always relied on Hiromi, right? He had no knowledge or skills to run a bakery. You probably thought you could just continue with what she had been doing.
Katsuya has always ridden on other people's coattails. I was shocked to hear about the divorce from Hiromi.
seems his friends are getting fed up with him.
And now you want us to work for you? But don't mention a thing about payment?
You're probably thinking you can get us to work for free, right?
Oh, that.
It was clear that Katsuya was caught off guard, and he was obviously shaken. Because of this, his friends were fed up with his greed and cut ties with him. The regulars who used to come to our bakery, of course, stopped coming, because I wasn't there anymore. Without anyone to rely on or help him, Katsuya was left stranded. Hi, Mom. I made strawberry cream bread today. It was popular at the old bakery, too.
Thank you, Hiromi. I'm so happy you're with me, Hiromi, and for making delicious bread.
When I returned home, my mother, who had been unwell, quickly recovered and is now completely healthy. Now, with the money from the land my father sold, my mother and I are living happily together. I make and sell bread in my own bakery workshop at the new rehabilitation facility next door. And guess what? Today, a regular customer from the old bakery visited me. They said they missed the strawberry cream bread and came.
Oh, that's wonderful, Hiromi.
Yes, I inform my regular customers about the move. I also contact them to let them know I've started a new bakery within the rehabilitation facility. Even though it's far, they promise to come and buy my bread. Some of them, who are fans of my bread, started to come by whenever they are traveling or working nearby. Katsuya may have lost everything, but even though the location has changed, I'm happy making my favorite bread and living joyfully with the people I care about.